Up next, we have the Gaza Monologues, which is a presentation of biographical writings from the youth in Gaza. It is a global action project developed by Ashtar Theater of Palestine. Please, to the stage, Darnaj. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Toranj. I'm with Golden Thread Productions, a theater company in San Francisco focused on the Middle East. I hope that some of you at least have seen our theater work. We have our brochures over there. We are proud to be the US partners for the Gaza Monologues. These are writings by Palestinian teenagers from Gaza in the aftermath of the war, and they are being performed around the world by teenagers from more than 30 countries. The initiative sort of kicked off October 17th. That was the first performance. We had our performance on October 20th at La Peña. You see a 15-minute segment created by students from Moreau High School in Hayward in collaboration with their teacher, Arlene Hood, who's here. On November 29th, there will be an international presentation of this writing in New York at the UN. There will be 2 performances, one inside for the delegates and one outside for the public. So if you can get yourself to the UN on November 29th, do it. It'll be worth it. Okay, with that, I want to invite the kids to join us on stage.
Our future in Gaza is obscure and unknown, like a calm volcano that can erupt at any second. As if we're on a boat without a captain in the midst of a raging sea. We go right and left, and no one knows where to lean.
I hear that in other countries, childhood is sacred, and children live their lives without problems and fear. But Gaza's children are forgotten and outside of the picture. They're the ones who feel the injustice the most, because society treats them like they're not kids.
When it wants, it makes them into adults. And when it wants, it returns them to being children. And most people treat them like they're only bodies, not minds.
Gaza has no tenderness and no childhood. A boy is born a man here, and a girl is born a bride.
For the first time, the streets of Gaza were clean. There wasn't a paper or a cardboard, because people were collecting the paper from the streets to use it for baking because of the disconnected electricity. My mom didn't want to bake, so she asked me to bring bread from the bakers. The queue at the bakers was 8 hours. People would wait in line for 8 hours to get to their turn and take half a pack of bread. In seconds, a Palestinian rocket launcher was erected in the area. And in less than 1 second, the Israeli planes started bombing it. People began running in all directions, and the ambulances came. People started falling dead. Others were injured. I was in shock, and the people in the street started telling me, "Thank God you're safe." Anyways, I went back home without the pack of bread, and my mom yelled at me. But till today, she doesn't know why I didn't bring back the bread.
If you want to call me a coward, do so. Because after the war, I don't answer any kid who swears at me or even hits me. I'm just sad. I leave him and walk away. Before the war, I wasn't like that. The flying bird would avoid me. Why did this happen to me? Honestly, after I saw so many kids dying in the war, I started to feel like all of us are going to die. It's just a bit delayed. I started to feel like I was 100 years old. The war ended on the ground, but it's still there in my head. I want to be like any child in this world.
My family, and that of my uncle and grandfather, all went to live in my uncle Anand's place because it was far away from the war, and it was a safe area. Or so we had thought. The next day, there was a bombing on the street next to my uncle's house, and the wall behind the house collapsed. The third day, my uncle, at whose house we were staying, went to buy fool and falafel for breakfast. When he returned, he parked his car at the door of his house, but before he could come down from the car, a rocket fell on him. The upper half of his body landed on the asphalt, and when the ambulance came, they collected the lower half from the car. The paramedics collected the upper half in a plastic bag, and they took him to the hospital. My mother started wailing and screaming, and asking God to bring him back safe. I don't know. Was she lying to herself or to us? Of course, he didn't come back. And he won't come back safe.
My grandmother and I were home alone. She was telling me stories about the days of our country. Funny stories and sad ones. But she never got through a complete story because she always had to go to the bathroom halfway through. My grandma spends half her time in the room and the other half in the bathroom. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion that shook my world. I pulled the blanket over my face and something fell on me. I raised the blanket off me with all my strength, and it was the frame of the window that had fallen on me. The blankets were full of glass, and our house was full of black smoke. It was the day they hit the workers' union right next to our house. But that's not the point. The point is the stupid things that happen and which I can't find an explanation for. First, our world is on fire, and we all thought we would die. But my grandmother, she was looking for her false teeth. She was afraid that when she died, people would find out she had no teeth. If they don't know already. Second, our house was full of black smoke, but my father lit up a cigarette and smoked. As if we needed more smoke. Third, my uncle called to make sure we were okay. My father told him, we're all fine, thank God. That all the windows of the house were broken, except one. My uncle told him to break it, and my father did. I don't know why I'm telling this story. All I know is that we're living in a cage, a prison, like an encaged bird who wants to come out, but he's besieged. Kids are dying in front of their mother's eyes, and hearts are crying and screaming for them in the loudest voice. But no one hears. No one's heart softens, and no one seems to care.
Gaza, the warm arms, and the fires of hell. Sometimes I look at the sky from the edge of my window and find the world so red with fire and smoke, and I'd ask myself, why is the whole world at rest and we're living in an inferno?
When I talk to Palestinian kids in Europe, I feel sorry for them. And I don't wish to be like them, because they're in diaspora. They plant their dreams in a land that's not theirs. Dreams grow with the people and the country.
Wow, Gaza and Gaza's dream. Our dream has become to die a good death, not live a good life.
I love life. I love to play and I love people. I wish I could be the president of Palestine for one day so that I can enrich love and peace between people and end the hatred and spite in their hearts. This would be my first presidential decision, but unfortunately, I'm not the president, and that's why there was a war.
In the first hit of the war, I was going home from school and didn't know the road. Suddenly, a man stood in front of me and asked,
Where is your house?
I told him, and he took me home. I went down to the house quickly and asked my mom.
Well, how come you didn't come get me?
My mom said.
It's normal, dear. Go study.
I told her.
There are no exams. The war is over.
In the afternoon, they hit the government building near our house. My mom said.
It's normal. We're used to what's happening to us.
We went running to the neighbors, each one looking out for himself. After minutes, the neighbors' relatives started coming and the house became packed with more than 100 people in it. But still, things stayed
normal
for my mother. In the morning, my dad went to buy bread and stood in line for 6 hours coming home with 1 pack of bread. Each of us got half a loaf, and still my mom said,
normal.
In the evening, my parents decided to go to the hospital and visit the injured, and I went with them. In the hospital, we saw many corpses. There were 4 on each bed, under and on top of each other. Only then did my mother say,
This is not normal.
I have a friend living in Russia. He always tells me about Russia and the freedom and safety he lives in. I feel that I'm not living. I start wishing that I could dive into the sea and keep diving and diving till I come out and find myself in Russia.